What's up, Facebook? How's it going, everybody? This is Andrew Johnson, A.L. Johnson with Elevating Men. I got my group of brothers with me. This is going to be a fantastic conversation. Like I literally have not been able to contain myself all day. I've been waiting for this moment because I really want to have this conversation. I believe it's extremely important. Um, for all of you, today is February 15th. We had Valentine's Day yesterday, the day of love. And so hopefully you all had a good day with your significant other. If you're here in Kansas City, you know, we've had a crazy snowstorm, power outages all over the city. I was out rolling around today. I'm seeing, cars on the side of the road, etc. And so if you're here, you're blessed. You're blessed. And, I'm glad that you're safe and sound. And so today, as you know, the title is Why is it hard for men to love? And why is this even important? Why does this conversation even matter? And so, if you've been following me for the past month or two, you've noticed that I started a new business. It's called Elevating Men. My goal there is to give men a platform to be able to talk openly about some of our issues, some of the things that affect us as men. Because I truly believe that until men are able to repair themselves and fully restore themselves, families won't be able to. And if the family isn't restored, the community can't be restored. And so, a lot of the problems that we deal with, from the drugs and the violence of the young men, a lot of it stems from the family. And the family is a man and a woman. And so, until we can fix that relationship, there's always going to be problems within our community. And so, how do we fix it? We fix it by having good conversations and good dialogue. And so, I can say for sure, we don't have all of the answers, but we're willing to have the conversation. And that's where all of it starts. That's what's extremely important. And so, before we get too deep into all of this, let me get off my soapbox and introduce my brothers. So, to the right of me on your screen, I've got Mr. Maurice King, the brother with the hat on. He'll remind you of Suge Knight a little bit. How you doing, brother? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me, man.
Man, you are blessed, man. You are blessed. And the reason he's blessed, let me tell you. So, Mr. King here is the owner of Rich Cuts Barbershop in Independence, Missouri. It's right on 40 Highway. It's a very interesting concept. If you need to go get lined up, trimmed up, looking good, I suggest that you go there and take your children there, because not only are they cutting hair, they're actually instilling good values into the children. And so they have them reading books, they're learning about entrepreneurship. It isn't just your regular old barbershop. So definitely check it out, Rich Cuts Barbershop. In addition to that, I had to have him on because we're talking about why it's hard for men to love. And he just wrote a book called How to Love a Woman. And so we're definitely going to need your perspective tonight, brother. We appreciate that. Tell them, how can they get the book and what inspired you to write it?
You can get the book at any brick and mortar bookstore. You can order it, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. I mean, Walmart. It's definitely in America. It's about in about another 5 or 6 countries as well. All you gotta do is search it. How to Love a Woman by Maurice King Clark. It'll pop up. It's purple, like this. Can y'all see it? So, um, man, what inspired me to love a woman was, to be honest, man, if I could just be honest and transparent, I was about 27 when I realized that I didn't have no idea how to love a woman. I just thought I did. Um, and, as I grow older and I look at things going on in the world and society, in our communities and other communities, like you led off with, by any means necessary, we got to get back to that loving home, that two-parent home, um, by having conversation. And so that sparked the book. And just I'm just hoping that it creates great dialogue, great thinking, and it does what it's intended to do.
Awesome, awesome, man. Hey, so definitely, people check that out. You can go to Amazon, you can go to Walmart, just Google Maurice Clark, How to Love a Woman. That's how you can get information on that book. To the right of him, I've got brother LaRon Barnes. He is a motivational speaker and an inspirational life coach. High energy, brother, that'll fill up your cup when you're running low. How you doing, brother LaRon?
Listen, I am so excited, Andrew, bro. I am good. I'm better than good and better than most, and really ready to dive into this conversation. And it's some good content. I can't wait to dive into it.
Awesome, awesome. To the bottom right, we've got brother Lauren Jones, the founder of the podcast Fatherhood, and he's also a part of the Lawrence A. Jones family of the funeral homes here in Kansas City. How you doing, brother?
my brother, man, my brothers, all on the panel. Good evening, Facebook. Good evening. Hope y'all ready for some outstanding dialogue from four guys that are pretty smart. I'm just here, just filling in for the guests that couldn't make it. So
He's too humble, too humble. And then last but definitely not least, we share the same name, Andrew, so he's got to be great. Um, Andrew Boykin from Dinner and Dialogue. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. I was just looking at all those degrees on the mantle behind Lauren. So when he says that he's just here, no, I ain't falling for it.
Oh no, man, he's our resident brainiac. So he's gonna keep us on task here. He's gonna keep us on task. And so,
Yes.
fellas, let's just jump into it. So, why it's hard for men to love? So let's kind of start with childhood. We always start from the beginning, right? And so one of the things that I believe is really important when it comes to the psyche of a man and how he relates to women is what his childhood was like. Did he grow up with two loving parents in the home? Was he able to see that firsthand and be able to draw from those experiences so that he can in turn show that love to a woman in the future? I believe a lot of the men in our community didn't have that. A lot of men were raised by women, and they did a great job. My mother raised me. I think I turned out perfectly fine, but I can say and I can admit that there were some holes in that area, of how to love a woman. Now, this is a personal theory that I have, and I want to get you all's take on this. Okay, so I really do believe that as a boy, when you're raised in a family of women, you are taught how to treat a woman, right? You're taught a lot of that, a lot of chivalry. Open the door for your sister. Don't have your mom taking out the trash. You cut the grass because you're the boy, not your sisters. That sort of thing. One thing that I do feel is missing in that situation is we aren't usually taught what to expect or look for in a woman. And so when young men get to an age where they start thinking about dating, if you ask them what it is that they want or they're looking for, it tends to be all physical attributes. Oh, I like dark skinned girls. I like the light skinned girls. I like them to have this kind of shape. I like this kind of hair. But in generally, it isn't characteristic focused. I want a woman who's sweet, cooperative, who understands me. And those are the most important things. And so when women get into relationship with these broken men that don't know what they're looking for and they don't know what to expect from a woman, it creates a lot of different challenges. And so the first question I want to ask Maurice, as the author of How to Love a Woman, do you see that as an issue where boys are taught how to treat a woman, but they aren't taught what to look for? And so in turn, when they do meet women, they don't know how to act because they didn't know what to expect. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I think you hit the nail right on the head. I was never, like you said, was taught and raised, how to treat a woman. But on the receiving end of it, I believe that for me and my story, I was raised as far as how to love and life, this and the other. I was raised from a survival standpoint, not a living. So all of the information and knowledge that I was taught was coming from a place of survival. So when it that's how I was taught love. So that's how I gave it. So I dated a woman not to never let her in close enough to hurt me all the way to protect myself. You understand what I'm saying? A woman could never get 100% of Maurice, maybe 80, maybe 90, but I had to protect the very core of me. And as I look back, especially when you're talking about, from a childhood perspective, it's because the people who taught me was teaching me from a place of survival and not a place of enjoying life and love. But when
tell me this, can you go a little deeper on the survival part of it? Like, what do you mean you were from a place of survival? What do you mean by that?
So as an example, I was raised by women as well. And, my mom was a single mom of three. I'm sorry. And I was the only boy. She went to school full time and worked full time. She had a couple of bad marriages before I was born. So when it came to the advice she gave me was always make sure you have yourself together. Don't depend on no woman for this. Don't do this. Be this way. Do this. It was from a place to protect myself in the long run, never to really experience life and love as it's.
You know what? And that's actually interesting because a lot of times we think about, the woman when it comes to protecting anything as far as protecting feelings or perception or anything like that. We usually look at that as a female thing. A woman goes into a relationship and, she's protecting her heart. But as men, we have the exact same issues. We have the exact same issues. What do you think about that, Laurent?
Man, no, you 100% right. I was just talking the other day about how I think the emotions of men, like, or a lot of times overlooked. Like, we got feelings too. You know what I mean? We hurt just as well as everyone else. You know what I mean? And I mean, like, from that perspective, I just think that we're overlooked a lot. Like, so ask that question again real quick, Andrew, because you kind of skipped out as well. Say it again.
It's about the fact that a lot of times we look at women and their emotions when it comes to guarding themselves and protecting themselves in a relationship, but we don't talk about men protecting themselves or having concerns as they enter relationships.
And so, like, even with me, I'm a different kind of individual. I mean, I'm just gonna say it from the perspective of always wanted to love somebody. I've always wanted to give myself. I never was the player type. I never wanted to do women wrong. I just wanted to love them. This is so precious. Put it this way. I love women so much to the point where I didn't think at one point they can do anything wrong. Boy, did I find out later as I got older. But so
Right.
that's just the truth. Like, I really didn't know. That's how I can say kind of naive I was to the fact, So me giving all myself and then by me being, I can say, more of an emotional man. I'm okay with saying I'm emotional. All of us are emotional. I'm not afraid to hide it. But I believe that by expressing how I felt, expressing that, you know what I mean? It from the other side of things, it made you look weak, and when the man feels weak or that he is basically being put down or he's made to feel less of a man, he rises up and gets, aggressive in those situations like that. But like I said, I think men's emotions are overlooked because we're supposed to be a man. If that's the only reason why that our feelings are overlooked, that doesn't sound right at all, right? And I think that's the reason why a lot of men are even tougher or try to put up this certain persona when it comes to letting women in. Simply because, listen, you ain't about to hurt me. Like, I've been hurt before. I've been hurt. I've been overlooked because, once again, I was a more passive man. I was a man who allowed certain things to happen. And people really do take your kindness for weakness. Just because I know how to love, just because I'm more emotional, I express myself more, doesn't mean that I should be put out there to be ran over. And I think that's what a lot of men are putting up their guards for, because they don't want to be ran over because they had it before.
Wow. Hey, you just said a mouthful there. So, not wanting to get ran over, not wanting to get ran over. Lauren, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you see as a man today that would cause a man to feel like, hey, I need to look out for these key things so that I don't get taken advantage of or ran over in a relationship?
I mean, I think men come from a space of emotional ignorance. We lack emotional intelligence, and so when you want to play the tough guy role, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to get ran over. I ain't gonna get played by no chick. Really, that's overcompensation for some type of internal fear that you have. Some internal pain that you are either going through or have dealt with, and so you're using that as protection.
Now let's talk about that. So the internal pain that causes us to put our guards up. On this show, we try to hold ourselves accountable as men. We don't want to put the blame on the women, right? I think there's like way too much of that going on. For those of you that have never heard of it, there's a term called the red pill, and there's a bunch of male YouTubers that got huge followings, and their whole philosophy is to basically say forget women. Don't worry about getting married. Don't worry about impressing a woman. Focus on your purpose, and basically, just use women for your sexual pleasure, more or less. That's what they say. And it comes from, if you watch any of the videos, you can tell these are some hurt, broken men that have been through a lot of things, and instead of dealing with the trauma the correct way, they just say, "Hey, forget about it. I'm throwing my hands up. I'm done with this relationship thing." That isn't helping our communities in any way at all. But one thing that I think about when you talk about trauma, a lot of men's trauma, in my opinion, is self-inflicted, right? And the reason I say that is because a lot of men, one, we start too early with our relationships with women, so we're not ready. We're really not ready. And so we put ourselves in a situation where we can only expect to have issues. The other thing is, and for lack of a better word, is the whole phase, that promiscuous phase that a lot of men go through, and women. But one thing that we talk about is, say if a man is in a relationship with a woman, right? If he cheats, then it's kind of expected, right? But then if a woman cheats, if she steps outside of the relationship, generally the first question is, well, what did you do as a man? What did you not do? Maybe she was lonely. Maybe you didn't do enough of this, didn't do enough of that. And so my theory is that every man who may have a sense of paranoia about a woman stepping out, it doesn't have to do with him cheating. Because that's normally what you hear. Oh, well, if he's paranoid about what you're doing, it's because he's doing something over here. What I really believe happens as a man who's been there is that we go through a phase where we deal with so many women in different situations. So we've been boyfriend number two. We've been the guy that, she's leaning over the side of the bed and texting. Some of us have been the man where we know she was married and that didn't matter. And so we still did whatever we were doing. And then when you get in a relationship, it's like, oh, wait a minute. This could be me now. I could be that guy. You know what I mean? Maybe there's another boyfriend number two over here I don't know about. And so I believe a lot of that is where that's come from. Andrew, what do you think about that theory? Is there any truth to that in your opinion?
It's a whole lot of truth to it. I mean, I'm listening to Maurice. He says that I was raised to what was it? To defend myself, not defend myself. What was the word you said? Protect myself.
Survive.
Or I was raised to protect myself or something like that. And then Lauren came in and said, no, I was raised to survive. Excuse me. I was taught to survive. Lauren says I was taught to protect. LeBron, excuse me, was taught to protect myself. Lauren says that from that I'm emotionally ignorant, meaning I don't know how to. I don't know how really to survive because I'm just starting to live. I need to protect myself because as I'm growing up, people are now starting to take advantage of me. So now I'm emotionally ignorant because I really don't know what all this is, why all of this is happening to me while I'm just growing up, trying to be happy. And now you're saying that I'm responsible for another woman not really accepting all that I have to give. So I'm really messed up. And what all that says to me is that now that I got this wall up because I've been taught to survive, I've been taken advantage of. People know that I'm ignorant, or at least no, people don't know I'm ignorant. I don't want people to know that I'm ignorant. So that's behind my wall. And now I'm expected to be everything for this woman so that she doesn't have to go out and piece me together and get somebody else to give her what's missing. What it says is already my love is on this side.
Yep.
My love is for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how to, I don't know why to, it's not even about anything on the other side of that wall.
Right.
This is where my love is. This is where my loyalty is. This is all I know. And unfortunately, it's only getting worse. And I haven't even begun.
Yeah.
Good.
I see that. I see that. So we're talking about, because I want to stay on this point for a little bit, because I really do believe this is a bigger problem than we give it credit. Is we have a lot of self-inflicted trauma. Like, we put ourselves out there bad as men. We start off all wrong, and then we try to figure it out in our 30s, or once we get a woman, and we drag her through the mud while we're trying to figure it out, and that ain't fair. So we gotta start thinking about these things ahead of time. Maurice, I don't know if you had one. I'm gonna be honest. I had a phase where I was doing whatever. You know what I mean? I was doing whatever. And so to you, from the point that you're at in life now, how are you able to, one, let go of that? Because to properly love a woman, I believe that you can't have 5 or 6. So, how do you, one, as a man, like let go of that desire to hunt and to chase and to collect and gather, so to speak? And then also, if you have ever been in that situation where you were boyfriend number two, like how do men get over that so that they can treat their woman with love and respect who's treating them right?
Woo, man. I went through a phase. Definitely went through a phase. Um, man. So as I began to grow in knowledge, and I'm spiritual as well, so this may not resonate with everybody. But for me, I can't speak for every man. For me, the way I thought I was healing and dealing with myself was to get with a new woman, to lay with a new woman. That's how I dealt with all my fears and angers and insecurities. Um, you know, and as I began to grow and understand a little bit more about life and myself, like you say, we deal with it the wrong way. I was The more women I laid with, the more I found myself mentally attached to these women, sexually attached to these women. Uh, you know, Maybe they provided what I needed at the time emotionally, so now I'm emotionally attached to these women. You know, and it created a bigger problem. Now fast forward 10 years later, here I am with my wife. You see what I'm saying? And she has to somewhat
Right.
put up with some of these attachments that you know what I'm saying. So it wasn't fair to her. Um, but I knew that I was glad I went through that phase from a perspective of when I met my wife, I knew that she was the one, and I had no more sexual urges or desires. I had no more, desires to do anything crazy. I could easily let go of that for her. Um, if that answers your question, but at
So,
the
so let me
same
ask you
time,
this.
go
Mhm.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say you hit on a good point. When you realized that you loved her, it took away your desire to do other things, right? And so, in hindsight, in your dealings with other women, is that part of how you would maybe advise a nephew or a son on how to know that you possibly don't love the woman because you still have these other urges, or is that unrelated?
Um, oh, I would say it's definitely related. It was okay. So I believe every situation is different. My wife, we've been married 2 years. We were broken up for 3 years, and we were together 3 years before we broke up. So during the 3 years that we were broken up, of course, I'm dating, I'm talking, I'm experiencing. I had a travel job at the time, so I was in a different state every month. I'm living life. You hear me? And the dating scene for me, they could provide nothing close to what my then girlfriend, now my wife, was able to provide. I was comfortable. I was able to be me. I trusted her 100%. I had never met a woman that I could just fully trust. And when I say trust, of course, we're not talking about, cheating or anything like that. I'm talking about I trusted her with my insecurities, my weaknesses. I trusted her enough to handle Maurice um, as a person still trying to come into himself. You know what I'm saying? I could not find anything else like that out there dating. So for me, having already gone through that whole phase, if I can call it that, it was easy because I would trade all of that. You know what I'm saying? Even now, you ask me to do it again today, I would trade all of that for what I have today. So, I mean, I would give to my son or nephew. To me, I think that everybody goes through a period of trying to discover themselves. I would say be honest. Stop leading women and people on. If you're just trying to chill and have a good time and relax and eat and shop, say that. The problem is men don't say that. We do all this
Man,
relationship type stuff. We late
yeah.
night talking to them, slow jams in the background, and we have no intentions on doing anything else than that. And this woman that fell in love from the conversation. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Be
Right.
so that's what I would tell my son or my nephew.
And you know
You know,
what, man? That
connection was
that's huge there. That's huge there because I really think there's a lot of dishonesty on both sides, for real. And if I have to make this about the black community, because let's be honest, relationships that ain't a black and white thing. Relationships are universal,
Are you?
and all over the world, everybody's dealing with the same problems. But if I want to bring this down to the black community, we all have the same Google. We all read the same books. Everybody is familiar with the Willie Lynch letter and what that entails. For the few who may not, it was just during slavery, and during that time, there was actually a man. He came to the shore. He was talking to the slave owners. He told them that if you want this to last, this separation among the people, then you want to pit the old against the young, and the men against the women, and the light skin against dark skin, etc. Here's my issue, and I got a theory here. If we all know this, male and female, the men, we know what trauma our black women have gone through, right or wrong. We know the trauma. We know that the men, have left a lot of the women financially responsible for households and children, knowing that it's tough for them. They know it's hard. At the same time, women know a lot of the trauma that men have dealt with in the workplace, racism, the police, brutality, etc. And so I really think that as black people, we have to give each other a little more grace and honesty, as you were saying, Maurice. So when it comes down to it, when you meet this black woman, you got to understand there's a possibility that there's all sorts of trauma that she's been through. And so you guys have to talk about that up front. Even
Andrew,
when
can I jump in there for a second?
What's that?
Can I jump in there for a second? You said we all know.
Just one second.
Go ahead.
1 second. And then with the on the men's side of it as well, there has to be more honest conversations. And so, like Maurice said, if you know for a fact that you're not ready for a relationship, you have to say that. Hey, this is what it is. I'm not ready. Here's why. Women, be able to accept that. Like Maurice said, what makes him love his wife so much is she accepted him for who he was and where he was at the time. And this isn't for you to settle or lower your standards, but you have to understand that we're all dealing with a certain level of trauma, and you have to be willing to talk about that. What was your point, Drew?
I was just wanting to put a pin on that point that you made, that men know what women have gone through and historically, and women know what men have gone through. And I truly believe that we don't. If men actually knew the trauma, the horror that the word woman actually carries, they wouldn't do what they do to them. Because we don't know is why we actually use the excuse of, oh, well, hey, I was just being a man, or hey, I didn't know. Hey, like Lauren said, I was emotionally ignorant, or no, I really don't know the trauma. It goes with, I know not exactly what I do. And what I do does not mean what I do to her today, but what carries on beyond our lifetime. The seed that I plant, the seed of pain that I plant when I do to her, through her, into the next generation. We don't know.
That's a good point. Look, we got a few. Let's catch up on some comments here for just a second, and then we'll hop back into the content. But we've got a comment here from Tanisha Harris. It says, I too myself have ran into a man that lacks emotion. He explained all the things that a woman did wrong, and I continue to remind him each day that I am there through the good and the bad. He wants the friendship and the fact that I have his back 24/7, but he doesn't want commitment due to his past. Should I move on? And then she follows that with, I expressed my feelings, and he stated, I like you, but I don't like you like me. Anybody want to handle that?
I would say, listen, that goes back to what you were kind of. Well, listen, if somebody is telling you that they don't want it, like, dude, like, stop. I mean, seriously, there's someone out there that's for you at the right position and right time that is ready for you right then and there. A lot of times, that's exactly what people do. They'll be telling you right in front of your face. But because you don't want to accept it, because you're emotionally involved in it, because they're telling you that they care about you, but they don't want you, let it go. It's okay. Because you, and if I can be very honest with you, a lot of times, and I'm just being very straightforward, a lot of times the reason why that is done is because of our own insecurities. So you got to look at where you are, look at how you feel about yourself, because you're definitely worth. You're worth a lot. You have a lot of value. Can you all hear me still? The screen looks like it's going off.
Yeah, we can.
Great. You have a lot of value. Listen, you have value. And there's nothing wrong with the man if he's not ready right now. So don't blame it on him, say there's nothing wrong with him. He's just not ready right now. But there's somebody for you. There's somebody who's ready for you at this point in time. A lot of times what may happen is that when you begin to say, you know what, I understand. I'm going to go ahead and back off for a moment. But I'm opening myself up for someone else who is ready, someone who's ready to love me, someone who's ready to give me their all. A lot of times when a man sees that, they'll probably try to jump in. Hey, I'm here. I'm just playing. I'm here. I'm here. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. I'm just going to bust it out right now, right? But understand that you have value. And if they're telling you to your face, don't be deceived. They're really not ready. And that goes back to what we're talking about. They're really not ready. Let it go.
Man, I agree with you, man. I think that's honestly where a lot of people get hurt. You know what I'm saying, in relationships, is a person has told you, hey, I'm really just I'm broken right now. I'm getting over a past relationship. I've got something else that I'm dealing with, and we just keep on trying, keep on trying. Maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that, and you're really just setting yourself up for a bunch of heartbreak. I mean, you really are. You really are. What are your thoughts on that, Lauren?
Can you read me that comment again? I got the second part of it.
Man, just in a nutshell, she's got a guy. She's there for him. She's accepting who he is, but he's just straight out told her that, I like you, but I don't like you like that. What should she do?
I mean, I obviously the feeling's not mutual. However, I think you have to ask yourself the question, why the blanket statement? Like, can you specifically tell me, like, I like you, but I don't like you like me? What does that mean? Like, I know that means that is he being verbatim, or is there a level to that? I would be interested to understand now, based off experience. I'm gonna tell you that if he don't like you like him, then you need to give him 50 feet. Now, whether that means y'all break up, whatever, that's between the two of y'all. But you need to give him 50 feet because his commitment to you is not as strong and as dedicated as your commitment to him is. Again, I'm not telling you to walk away. I'm not a relationship expert, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. What I will tell you is that you need to be with some. If you are choosing to be committed 100% to the relationship, and he's not, then you need to decommit yourself. And that doesn't mean to go look for other options or other guys that will fill the void that he is not providing for you. That's simply saying you need to decommit because he's not committed to the relationship. Because what you don't want is you don't want to jump into another relationship only looking for the void that he didn't give you.
That was it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So hopefully that answers your question and gives you a little more insight. It looks like there was a comment in here that was addressing that same exact question from Rachel Ekre. She says, I dated a man who was emotionally unavailable. I was patient and empathetic to his feelings, and slowly he did open up to me. There is hope, but that's up to you if you feel comfortable making that choice. And I agree with her wholeheartedly. If you feel like it's worth it, only you know the situation, maybe he needs a little more time. But what you have to look at is your timeline and your time frame. And you can't drag anybody into a relationship. A lot of times we talk about unequally yoked. If you grew up in church or been around, but you've heard that term, unequally yoked. This is one of those situations. You don't want to have your love on 100 and his love is on 50, because then you're unequally yoked and it'll break. And we definitely don't want to see that happen. And so we appreciate the comment and the question. We appreciate that. We got another one here from a Shalise Flynn. She says, is this why some men tend to put women, especially if she is a good woman, in the friend zone? Yes. I'm answering that one. I'm answering that one from personal experience. If you run into a man who's willing to be honest with you, and he places you in the friend zone, and you're a good woman, and you know that you hit the check marks on his box, he's probably saving you a headache. He is possibly saving you heartache, headaches, trauma, trouble, stress. Listen to him. Stay in the friend zone. Trust me, that's where you want to be at if that's the case. If that's the case, do you all agree or disagree on that?
let me jump in on there. Let me ask you guys a question, because in my book I say that guys actually put women in 3 categories when they first meet them, and those 3 categories, and excuse my language, is somebody who I just want to screw, somebody who has potential and I'm still going to screw her, and the last one is somebody who I wouldn't even screw with somebody else's. But I can tell that when I first meet her, which category I'm putting her in. Am I the only one who feels that way?
No. Just like a lot of times women, they'll say, I know within the first 5 to 7 seconds if I'm gonna sleep with a guy or not. I think men, we do the same thing. Now, I can't say that for me personally, I can't say that I, saw a woman and said, ooh, that's a woman I would marry, but I can say that there are certain qualities about her that I want to explore more.
Exactly.
So when it's like a superficial, hey, I like her body, I think she's pretty, that's where I want to go with it. There isn't a whole lot of thought into that. But when you start, being able to piece together, okay, she's a good mother. I saw how she interacts with her children. I see how she interacts with her family. She's got a good father. When you start looking at things like that, I think it's just a little bit different, and you're willing to put more time and effort into a potential relationship.
The reason I asked that question is because what something Maurice said earlier when he was talking about when he first started dating, and he was looking for things that was missing in his life. So basically, what we're doing for some of these guys that I'm talking about, who I was once one of them, is that there was a lot of things missing in my life. So when I met a woman, either she had potential based on what she had to offer, she did not have potential, or she was just going to be for the moment. But the bottom line is, everything that I chose to make my decision on was based on me, my needs, and my self-love and my self-protection. It had nothing to do with what I was going to give, provide, or take her life to the next level. Nothing.
Now, we got a comment here. I want to see what you guys think about this. Rachel's dropping bombs today. Thank you, Rachel. But it says here, when we talk about walls, I read a meme that said, instead of trying to tear down someone's walls, wait patiently at the door for them to open it for you when they are ready. And so the question that I have on that, I think that's a beautiful statement. I believe there's a lot of truth to it. But you hear a lot of women on social media say, like, I ain't waiting for nobody. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm 30 years old. I got this child I'm raising. I'm working every day. I got my own bag. I just need a man. I just want a partner to go through life with. I ain't waiting for anybody. Do you think that it's a good thing or a bad thing for a person to wait on someone that they feel may be a good fit, but they're not ready? What anybody want to jump on that?
I'm gonna say I don't think that there's nothing wrong with waiting. I don't think there's nothing wrong with waiting. If there is potential, if you all can see potential of it moving, I think the issue is that a lot of times what happens is we rush things and we want it so much, but the signs are there saying, hold on, this is not marriage material. And I truly believe in my heart, this is me. I truly believe when you are looking to date someone, you should be looking to see if I can spend the rest of my life with. You shouldn't be, I'm just dating them to see what happens. I mean, the ultimate goal, in my opinion, like I said, this is just me. I believe that you should be looking to say, where can I see my future with this woman, right? Where can I see my future with this man? Where can I see my future with him? So I don't think there's nothing wrong with waiting, but you all have to have a mutual understanding that we're waiting with each other, right? We're waiting for some things that happen as far as us taking the next step. But no, there's nothing wrong with waiting. But if someone, going back to what I said, if someone tell you this is not really what they want to do, well, how long are you willing to wait?
Right.
So I took her comment differently. I took her comment as in she's not necessarily waiting on him. She's moving on with her life. She's doing what she's doing, but she's giving him grace. Meaning, if he catches up with her because all of a sudden he woke up and he put his wall down and opened the door and said, "Hey, this is why my wall was up, so forth and so on. Can I catch up with you?" And her life is still going on, and she's not married. She has not necessarily counted him out. She knew he was on the other side of that wall. I'm not waiting on you, but I'm not giving up on you as the person.
Yeah.
Now,
Does
I
that
mean,
make
now the
sense?
issue with that though, now I mean, let me play devil's advocate a little bit. Um, Shoot, a lot of us are selfish. You know what I'm saying? Like men and women. And so when it comes down to it, you can put yourself in the trick bag, so to speak, by waiting on somebody. Giving them their time. You go on about your business. But I've even been in a situation where it's like, oh no, she's meeting somebody else. Oh, she's getting serious. And then here you come popping up with flowers and extra text messages and phone calls trying to derail a potential situation that you may possibly want to take advantage of in the future. And so, can Maurice, and this is the author. If you're just tuning in, this is the author of the new hit book, How to Love a Woman. You can catch it on Amazon. Just Google it. It's at Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, any major bookstore. But can you speak to that fear of missing out that we have as men sometimes, where we may not take the woman seriously, but as soon as she starts moving the other direction, we chasing her down.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't.
Go ahead,
Go
go ahead and tell the truth.
that I don't know. I don't personally remember ever going through that, but I do know that is a big, big, big thing. A lot of men, um, do. Um, for me, it was the opposite. My wife had walls before we got back and got married. She had walls, man, that and nothing you can do to break them down. And we broke up, and I promise it sounds crazy, corny, and cheesy. So okay, so let me start here. So while we were broken up, I was dating, and I had my wife in the back of my mind. She was still my girlfriend then. I had her in the back of my mind, and during that process of those 3 years when I was talking and dating other women, I ended up hurting women who had nothing but good intentions for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful with that too. But I finally got to a point within myself. I said, you know what? I just want her to be happy, whether it's with me, without me. I just want her to be happy as a person. And as soon as I reached that point, I promise those walls came down, and she more or less came back to me. It sounds crazy. It sounds like a fairy tale, but that's what happened. So that was my story.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Lauren, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on that?
Man, see, I grew up with I didn't grow up with the mindset of caring for women. I'll be honest with you. Everything I saw was actually probably what I would say now was the polar opposite. My mindset was I don't chase my replacement. Seriously, like that was my mindset. I wasn't going to chase you. So, you know, you. I think we have to be careful when we talk about how we build relationships with women. I think we have to be careful that we don't focus on getting serious too fast, but however you actually build a relationship, you get to know people. I think a lot of times we can kind of get lost in such a firm sense of, oh my God, you either got to get serious or you don't need to be with her. And I don't think that that's fair when you talk about actually evaluating a relationship and what that really entails. The I guess you call it fight or flight thing, where you see her doing well with somebody else, so you try to kind of come back into the picture and things of that nature. I mean, if she values herself, uh, she just not gonna let you jump back in. She may not have let you. She may not push you all the way away, but if she values herself, she's gonna recognize that pretty fast. I think when you think about, you made the statement about, you gave a description of a lady in her 30s. Maybe she has a kid, she's got a career, and I'm not gonna wait. And I think what you have to ask yourself uh, is rushing just going to put you back in the same situation that got you the first kid or got you involved in a first relationship, so
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. And so it's kind of like, where does that end? So you meet someone, you hit it off, you see some potential. It could be good. It might take 2 or 3 years, but you say, hey, my cutoff is 6 months. So then you leave that guy because he ain't moving fast enough. Now you on to the next one. Boom, 6 months hit. He ain't acting right. He ain't dropped on the knee. Then you on to the next one. And I really do think that creates the issue, especially with women who are raising young boys. I think that's like a really big problem. Thank God my mother was reserved enough that I didn't really see any of that. You know what I mean? But I can only imagine, and I know there were some boys in the neighborhood. To be honest with you, their mother was somewhat promiscuous, and all the dudes in the neighborhood knew it. Like that was an embarrassing, tough time for a young man to go out and play basketball, and everybody know your mama kind of hot. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. I honestly believe that it shapes a lot of our young men's perception of women when they become adults. You know, whatever they saw in the house growing up, and so we really have to be mindful of that. There's some really good comments. There's a bunch of comments here. Please keep the comments going, keep the likes going, share this information because we want Facebook to know we're having a good conversation over here. We don't want people to miss out. We'll jump back in the comments here a little bit later, but we want to move on to the next point. And so we talked about the childhood, what men see when they're growing up and how that affects them. We talked about the whole phase, you know, the quote unquote whole phase that if you're just tuning in, my theory is that that's self-inflicted trauma that men bring on themselves. We go out here, we're promiscuous, we deal with women who are promiscuous, and then when it's time to settle down, we've got all of these preconceived notions from when we were doing too much. And a lot of that causes us to put pressure on our women. That's where you see men who, you know, are called crazy on social media, don't want you to go nowhere, don't want you to talk to another man. It isn't always because he's cheating. Sometimes it's because he's been boyfriend number two, and he knows what that looks like, and so he's scared that you're out there looking for boyfriend number two on him. And so that's that. That's that. So the next point. I feel like, tell me if you guys agree or not. This is a agree or disagree. I really do feel like social media is anti-relationship at this point. Like if you just leave it to the messaging on social media, it's basically telling you not to get in a relationship. It's telling the women to be single, get your money, get your bag, raise your kids by yourself. It's telling the men to go out here, have as many sexual escapades as you possibly can, get your money, and be by yourself. That's social media in a nutshell to me. Outside of showboating. And so what I mean by that is outside of, you know, let's take a trip and take some pictures for Instagram. You know, let's go to this really expensive restaurant and take a picture and make sure that the bottom part of the bill is showing how much we spent. You know what I mean? And so outside, outside of showboating, social media is anti-relationship. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm kind of older than all of y'all, but that's been going on long before social media. You know, that went on when public housing was offered to women, but the man could not be in it. So basically, society said, "Hey, I'm gonna be your man. You take care of the household, and we'll give you your check and your housing, and you can go out and get education, so forth and so on." And since the man did not have his role because he had been replaced by the other man, he hey, all you have to do is just keep breeding like we had you doing in slavery. So that's what social media now reflects in a different light.
Maurice, what would you say on that? The whole social media basically discouraging us from relationships. Do you believe that's true or false?
Oh, it's 100% true. It's man, people post some of the stuff I see on social media. I'm like, wow, really? But to me, there's just a lot of people coming, like what we discussed earlier. They're covering up hurts, covering up, voids and different things. Anything to avoid healing and going through that that void that's there. So I mean, there's no more than I can say. I agree 100%.
Now I know you're a relationship coach. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now
you say something to do the work.
Yes. So look, I'm a relationship. Well, I'm a life coach, and my area is relationships and dating. That's where my heart and passion is. Listen, people run from the word work and accountability like it had a disease attached to it. You hear me? But these are the same. A lot of the same people. Not everybody, because I don't believe that everybody falls in every category. But a lot of these people, they're not showing, the lack of communication skills. They're not showing the lack of emotional empathy and all these things. They not showing all of the thing that they are not committed to bettering themselves at. So now they get on social media and they dog the other sex because men do it too, and they put up these fronts and it's crazy, man. I can spend all day on this. I couldn't agree more.
So these social media streets is messy. They're as messy as these Kansas City streets out here. You say you slide into a hole or something, mess your life up.
Yes.
It's an opportunity for everybody. Just put their resume out there. Put their what do you call it? Their front person. What is it? Their representative. Put the representative out there.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I believe that too. Like I've never really dated off of like social media or anything like that, but I can only imagine how many false expectations are created by people's social media personas, and then you meet them in person. They don't quite look the way they look in the picture. They don't act, the way the posts are, the way they come across. They all philosophical. And then you meet them and they ain't talking about nothing. And so, you start realizing they still in the memes. They ain't coming up with them. So, I know there has to be a lot with that. Now, here's another thing that I want to hit on, because again, the topic for those who are just tuning in is, why is it hard for men to love? I know everybody that's listening probably agrees that, it's hard to get a man to express his love. And so we're just kind of trying to tackle that issue and see what the problem is. One that I feel is a fear of loss. And so when it comes to actually settling down, for a man to say, okay, you got me, I love you, I'm yours, there's a certain fear of loss that men have when it comes to reaching that point. That fear can be, the dominance among their friends. If you're the one that's known for getting all the women, when you settle down, all of that goes out of the window. The praise that you receive maybe from other women because of the way that you put yourself out there, a lot of that goes out of the window. And as they say, men are hunters, and so we're always looking to hunt and gather. Well, once you settle down, you should be done hunting and gathering women. And so, LaRon, as a married man, young married man, I heard a couple women said they thought you was cute too, bro. That's what they told me. And so, and being in that situation as a young man, how did you overcome that fear of loss, to be able to dedicate yourself to one woman?
Well, if I can be honest with you, which I'm glad I can.
Oh yeah.
To be honest with you, I never really had a fear of loss. I was trying to get in. You feel me? Like with me, I was a really shy individual. I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself because I was the shy guy. I didn't have a lot of women. Not a lot of women like the nice guy. They like the thuggish guys, the one who was very opinionated, the ones who were out there, right? So I just wanted to find somebody who loved me. I wanted to find somebody that I can share my love with, somebody that I can give my all to, somebody I can buy things for. I thought that's what love was at one point, being growing up with. To buy things. Let me show you how much I love you. Let me tell you I love you. Let me tell you that I care about you. So with me, I just wanted somebody who would appreciate and would show me the appreciation back. By understanding, you know what, baby, I love you. So I never really had a fear of settling down. I wanted to settle up, right? My initial mindset was, I want a woman that love me for who I am, because I always knew that I was different. I knew that I was different, to where it took a special person to understand my mind and why I did things, because I really never fit in. So when I found my wife, my beautiful, lovely wife, I gotta say, when I found my wife, she everything I wanted. She was everything I needed. I was already on the search for a wife, because I knew that when a man findeth a wife, he found a good thing. So I was on the search for my good thing. And so what I was looking for was not so much in the looks. Don't get me wrong, looks are important, but I wasn't looking so much for the looks. I was looking for someone who had a heart of love. And I did a video one time about how to find the individual that you're really looking for. What is it that you're looking for? Because so many people are looking for the wrong things, and they're finding just that, the wrong thing. So like I said, when I found my wife, like, I wasn't trying to do all this and that, because, like, to be honest, growing up, I wanted to do all this and that. I wanted to do a lot of fornication. I wanted to be with a lot of women. I really did, because that was my flesh. That's what I wanted, if I could be transparent with you. But that wasn't the lifestyle that God had for me. He told me to wait. I'm just keeping it real. He told me to wait. So when I found my wife, Bethany, when I found out that she was the one. I didn't care about it. I just wanted to give that person everything because I wanted them to give me the same thing, and that's kind of what happened. And why I'm happily married now. Praise God. No, yeah, that's the
No, man, no, that's beautiful, man. To see a young brother that's able to, put the blinders on, so to speak, and you found what you wanted and you stopped looking. That's really hard for a lot of us men, and especially in this generation where, man, I mean, you can scroll through your phone and instantly contact 300-400 women. I mean, when could you ever do that before? And so, probably the men of old, of course, they did the things that they did, of course, but at the rate that we can do it, I mean, it ain't even close. It ain't even close. And so I think the men now are more distracted than ever by the women, more distracted than ever by the women. And so, I was talking to a brother, and he was like, man, we were talking about time management in business. And he, was just being transparent with me. He was like, man, sometimes I find myself, I might look on Instagram for a second. I look up 30, 40 minutes then gone by, and I done watched like 100 silhouette challenges. You know what I mean? And so it's like right there, and it's in our faces all the time. And so, like I said before, I really feel like our men and women need to recognize the trauma, and they need to recognize the times that we're living in, so that when you find someone and you connect and you feel that there could be some potential, this is where you have a tough, honest conversation. Tough and honest. I was speaking with someone earlier today, and this is real. This is the truth. The way that my relationships went, most of them were all like kind of sex first. Just to be completely honest, I'm attracted to you, you attracted to me. It wasn't a, let's go out to eat. It was, my place or yours. And that's how it went down. And that's how it goes down for a lot of men. They just won't be honest about it. You know what I mean? And so it took until literally I was in my mid-20s in between relationships before I went on my first actual like date where I could, get dressed up, open the car door, take her somewhere. I remember the night. I said, you know what? I'm not going to her place. She's not coming to my place. This is a date. You know what I mean? And so it's funny because I see a lot of women on social media. They're like, man, all the men want to do is Netflix and chill. All they want to do is, hook up or whatever. And what I say, because I do have two daughters, is a lot of that has to do with the women and what they're willing to accept. Right. Maurice, what would you say to that? Like when it comes to a lot of the complaints women have about our modern men and how we move and how we operate, how much of that is based off of what they allow?
I'm about to lose some followers and fans now.
Not if they want the truth.
I'm put like this. When I met or when I found or knew when I knew that my wife came with a set of standards. My wife came with a set, you know what I'm saying? And in order, I knew that I wanted to be with her, and I knew I had to meet those standards. But that was what she set out and put out. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no when I met my wife, she had her own house, job, career. It wasn't no coming over to the house and Netflix and chilling. But she led with that's what she's not looking for. She's looking for something real. She led with an honest conversation, and I led with an honest conversation, which led to more conversations. You see what I'm saying? So, there, with all this talking and stuff that we were doing, as conversations led to more conversations, we're knowing more about each other. We're figuring out, this, that, and the other about each other. By this time, we 2-3 months into this thing, and we enjoying each other's conversation. We enjoying each other's differences. But to flat out answer your question, no, my wife, wasn't no Netflix and chilling, wasn't no none of that. You had to come correct. But that's also the thing that made me love her too. She was not driven or controlled by sex, which is, I'm not going to lie, as a man, I'm not going to say it was my fear, but it was always in the back of my mind, what could she have been doing while we were broken up, but she was not controlled by sex. So I knew, I knew right then and there, it was just something more, but that's what attracted me to her. So, to answer.
So would you say that that's kind of like the beginning of you knowing that she was different from maybe the other women that you had encountered, and maybe why you should invested a little more time and energy into that potential relationship versus others?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, she had rules that I had never. You know, I was always popular in school, popular in sports. I could usually talk my way into or out of anything. You hear me? And she wasn't having none of that. Like, and
Man, hey,
it
and you know
made me
what?
man up.
I can tell you. So, like, a lot of this stuff that I talk about, I'm not the same person now. Like, I've matured, I've changed, I understand things that I didn't, then. Um, but I can say that any woman, the women that got the best of me, was because they had certain ground rules and certain morals. And it's not that men are just out looking for women to run over. That's not it. Like we said before, we're all dealing with our own traumas. And so I'm really trying to get away from the finger pointing, men pointing the fingers at the women, women pointing the fingers at the men. We're all messed up. We're all messed up. We just need to talk about it. We need to have the conversations. But I can say truthfully that any woman that got the best of me drew the line somewhere, and they forced the conversation. And so I really believe before anybody crosses any lines, before there's a date, before you go drink a cup of coffee, before you go to out on the plaza and do whatever you do, I think there has to be a serious conversation. One thing in the conversation needs to be, what are your intentions? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you courting for marriage, or are we just having fun? Where are you at? And then be okay with the answer. And so, like Miss Flynn, said earlier, she got the answer. She didn't know if she wanted to accept it. You have to accept the answer, And then when it comes to, everybody has a biological clock. And so with women, I think another thing that we run into is if a woman wants to have children, there's a time limit on that. That isn't a forever thing, whereas men can go on forever and ever. And so a lot of times, biologically, we're able to put off a family and relationship and take that serious more later in life. Whereas women, once you late 20s, early 30s, it's like, hey, this needs to happen, or. So what would your thoughts be on that, Andrew, as far as the time frame between men and women? Do you think that there's a discrepancy in that? Because I'll tell you, my aunt, she grew up, old school. She always told me that the man should get a woman who's a few years younger because women are more mature and they're looking to settle down before men are. What do you feel about that?
I think that, you all have been using the perfect word, especially Lauren, when he kept talking about the void, especially the void in women, because and I'm going to talk about, for me and my friends, honesty is the new game, meaning we meet a woman long before we ever meet a woman. And when I say that, we MEET her long before we ever MEAT meet her. And what that means is we're going to sit down and we're going to find out everything that she wants, everything that she desires. We're going to find out what's on her mind and her heart. And that's what we're going to give her so that we can then meet her. But after we meet her, then we're done, because that was the end of her expectations. And our goal was only to meet her. When you said that those other women brought out the best in you, I would say they brought out the better in you, because what you did was you rose to the occasion to give them a little bit better so that you can get whatever it was you got. Those ones that got the best of you, and I'd say the only one is the one that you are now married to. We don't give the best of ourselves. We only give what we have to do in order to get what we want. Meaning, I'm not going to love you if all I have to do is relationship you. I'm not going to love you if all I have to do is date you. I'm not going to love you if all I have to do is be in a monogamous whatever your words are. If that's all I have to do, that means I don't have to love you. And love is much deeper than all those words that women are looking for.
Wow, that's deep. So, would you say, just to continue on that train of thought, would you say that social media has set somewhat of an unrealistic expectation of relationships?
Social media has basically just let us all be free. And then it says to ourselves, since we're starving, since we have this void, why not put our why not put our representative out there and see what we can get? Because we don't know that we don't know how to get the more that we claim we want.
So something that you touched on there, and this even comes when people say, I'm trying to find myself, or figure out what it is that I like. I don't like to say, um, find the life that you want. I think that it should be built. And for you to build something, that means that you have to have a preconceived notion or a concept of what it is you're making or constructing. And so there's a level of intent that's involved with that. When it comes to men, and I can only speak to myself. Let me just speak to myself. Early on, as a man, I didn't really have a list that I was looking for a woman. I didn't have any specific qualities that I was looking for. It was kind of like, let me just go out here, meet different women, and see what I like. And so over time, you take a piece of her. I like I like how she acted around the house, and I like how this one did that. And you over time date a variety of people, and then you kind of put all these different qualities together, and then it's like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. How can we as men become more intentional in knowing what we want in advance so that we don't have to, for lack of a better word, just go through so much on the dating scene and get to the woman who, we can actually share our life with? What would be your thoughts on that, Lauren?
That's an interesting question. I think a lot of our initial examples of relationships are through our parents. Whether our parents are together or whether they're apart. You see your father. If he's in the home, you see, you potentially see, how he loves your mother, things of that nature, and then you look at your mother, and she embodies that because you see your father, his actions towards his wife, and so you begin to make that mental connection that this is what you want. Uh, if you come from a single parent home, it kind of depends on the mother's emotional state, or the father. If you live with your father, it depends on your father's emotional state. Because I know a lot of times, the mother can be super demonstrative and how she talks about your father, which is ultimately how you, as a young boy, you begin to view, you know, women. You think about women as being negative, or you think about women as being nagging and things like that. So I think that's a lot of where our initial intelligence about relationship comes from. Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree with you. I agree. So like,
yeah,
and this is the thing with it. As well. A lot of times it's not having these kind of conversations like among men where we could just be honest. I think that we put ourselves in echo chambers. I think a lot of men are biting their tongue way more than they should. And so when you look on social media, there's way too many yes men. And so it's hard for you to really define anything when you're basically cutting your tongue all the time. One thing that I see a lot of is that men, we tend to only hear about relationships and love from a woman's perspective, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's just that they're more open than we are. We don't want to talk about love because we're tough and we're hard and we're strong. And I don't want to call you and, hey, bro, I'm in love and I don't know what my girl's doing and I'm worried. We don't want to do that. You know what I mean? But women are open to having the conversation, so they get all the healing, they get all the support that they need, and they're more vocal about what they want. And so when we go down social media, which is where a lot of us spend a good chunk of our time, whether we intend to or not, we're seeing the woman's point of view clearly all the time. This is what a woman wants, this is what a woman needs. But we don't have the conversations. And so we're just out here flying by the seat of our pants and we just bump into whoever and do whatever. And it's really detrimental to the family because again, that's the reason we have so many young people who are growing up without fathers, men who are not ready for a relationship, let alone ready to be a father and accept that responsibility. But you're doing all of the things that lead you down that path. You're having the sexual relationships, you're having children, and so the farther you go on down that path, the harder it is to correct it. Because then you get into your 30s, your mid 30s, you got a couple children. You hear all the women, they say, well, I prefer a man that doesn't have children or at least just one or two, and so you're really cutting yourself out of the life that you could have had. And so here's another theory that I have. I got a lot of theories, but I brought this up last week. I wanted to really get your perspective on it. I kind of heard the other brothers, but LaRon and Maurice, I think that all men should wait until they're 30 before they get serious about it. Here you go. What are you laughing again, bro? Don't laugh at me on that
It was
one. Man,
Lauren.
I'm
It was
so
Lauren. It was Lauren.
serious.
It was Lauren.
But I believe that it would help our community incredibly if the men would slow down. Wait until you're 30 before you start doing anything that could put you in a situation to be a father when you're not ready. For you to actually have your purpose in line, for you to have your career in order. Because if you look at what the women say they want, let's just be real. They don't want a man who doesn't have a career. They don't want a man who's broke. They don't want a man who has a bunch of kids and child support and baby mama drama. But that's what you're gathering up during your 20s from not being intentional. And so I feel like a man's 20 to 30, or as soon as you get out of high school until about 30, should only be focused on, let me find my purpose, let me get my career together, let me work on my credit, let me have a home before I have a wife, let me have some savings before I have a child, let me know what type of woman I actually want before I start pursuing. What do you guys think about that? Is 30 too old, or am I right on the money?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Well, I'm kind of that's hilarious, right? You're gonna start Drew. You're gonna start laughing at it. But now I feel. Hey, well, listen. I'm gonna be honest. Like for real. I definitely understand the theory. The likelihood of it happening, probably not. It makes nothing but sense what you're saying on why you should wait until you get in your 30s. And the reason why I can say that because I'm 31 years old right now, and I'm way more mature. My mindset's right. I know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm going after, what's happening in my life. And in the 20s, like I said, when you're in your 20s and you're going to your 30s, I mean, the reason why I say is the likelihood of it not happening as much is because of you're in your 20s, right? You're looking at these things. Are going right. You're thinking about women. You want these things. You haven't even experienced. You haven't really been able to experience. So, and we are naturally drawn into the opposite sex anyway. So it makes sense for us to put our mindsets in that area of life. But the likelihood of doing it at the age of 30 and really starting to get out there is a lot more challenging trying to do it like that, especially with society when you got sex on TV all the time, have naked women. It's a lot of distractions out there to keep from being on that road. But I do agree with you. If 30 is possible, if you really can wait to 30, I'm saying if you really can. I couldn't. I'm just gonna be real with you. I couldn't. I wanted my good thing. You know what I'm saying? I wanted my good thing. And we're just gonna work through it together. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I think it would be good to wait till your 30s, in your 30s, because you're more mature. You should have your stuff together. Now, if you ain't been working, I ain't gonna get at that. You should be working on doing something, getting yourself together. But ultimately, I can definitely see where you're coming from. 30, having yourself together. I think that's cool. But the likelihood of it happening, if we have to be serious about it, probably not.
I mean, yeah, no, come on now. I'd have told y'all I'd have been like open book on here, and yeah, that would be very hard. But if I could go back and do it all over again, I guarantee you, I would have waited until I was about 30 years old, because it's an analogy that I gave last week, and so it's just like a weight bench. You know what I'm saying? If any of y'all ever did the bench press, you know what that looks like, right? And so 45 pounds, we all grown men. We know 45 pounds ain't nothing, right? And so you could pick up a 45-pound plate and put it on the end of the bar real easy. And so because it's so easy, you could do it a bunch of times, right? Maurice, I see you've been back in the gym or whatever. So boom, you pick up one plate, pow, it's on the end. You pick up another one, boom. And you really don't notice how much weight you're putting on there because it's individual circumstances, it's individual things, and you're loading it up. You don't realize until you get on the bench and go to lift that, whoa, this is way heavier than it looked like. This is heavier than I was expecting. That's what we do during our 20s. We load our lives up with debt from trying to keep up with the Joneses. Too many women, boom, there's extra children, not taking care of family, not taking care of business. We're loading up the weight. And so when we get into our 30s or mid 30s, there's so much weight and pressure on our lives already that when we go to push and fail, that's where that midlife crisis comes in. And so I feel like we could prevent all of that by not loading up the bar so heavy in our 20s, waiting until our 30s when we actually have the muscle and the power and the system to be able to push through that. So I'm gonna get a t-shirt made. I'm gonna start selling mugs and all that. I'm gonna have a flag, a banner. I got a campaign. Wait till you're 30. That's real. That's real. So we're about ready to wrap up. There's a question that I have to ask all of you guys. So we talked about why it's hard for men to love. I think a big thing that I got out of all of this, which is it's kind of funny because every conversation we have, no matter what angle we come from, it ends up boiling down to intention. Like, just being more intentional about the things that we do. And so for a young man who may catch this broadcast and he's listening and he's like, you know what, I think I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna focus on my life, I'm gonna focus on my purpose, but I do want a woman one day. I do want to be married. Each of you, what are three qualities that a man should be looking for? If he's intentional about looking for a wife and finding his good thing, what are three things that he should be looking for in a woman? Let's start with you, Maurice.
Man, I always got to go first. Her money habits. Money habits. Super. Is she a saver or a spender? How does she deal with conflict, life? Marriage, work, all these type of conflicts. How does she deal with that? Who is she when she gets upset? When she doesn't get her way? And communication. I think 90 to 95% of a lot of issues, if being honest throughout the whole entire process, I'm trying to find the right way to word it. Can she communicate it? Does she shut down? Because if you're talking about getting married, if marriage is the end goal, you're gonna have to communicate, baby. Ain't no way around it. Effectively communicate. So definitely money. How do they handle adversity and communication? That would be my three things.
Good stuff. Good stuff. LeBron, I know you're already married, brother, but if you were to give advice, to a young man, what are the three things he needs to be looking for in his future bride?
Well, to be honest, I would say first thing I would say, you got to be evenly yoked. You got to be evenly yoked. You got to make sure that you all are on the same page when it comes to how you leading your family. Because if you're expecting to be married, I'm sure there's going to be eventually some children in there. So you all have to be on the same accord spiritually, and I have to go Bible. You know what I'm saying? It says not to be yoked with an unbeliever, not to be yoked with a person who doesn't believe in what it is that you believe in, so y'all can go in the same direction, so y'all can build together. The Bible also says the house divided cannot stand. So you really have to be evenly yoked. So you have to make pace. The second thing is going along what Brother Maurice said, what was that? Conflict, right? Personality. That's one of the things I said. Like, how do you get when things are all out of whack? How do you really handle those things? I'm not saying that sometimes you may not have to panic or different things, but when we don't agree, how are you responding? Are you burning my clothes? Or you know what I'm saying? Are you attacking me? You feel what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? That's real though. Like, what are you doing when it really comes down when stuff hits the fan? What are you doing? Because you have to understand. Like, and the last thing I'll leave it at this. And I said this in one of my videos. When you're in a relationship, there's nothing, like I said, you can date, but my mindset is always I want to look to marry this individual. We're dating, but my intentions is one day being married to you, even though we're not married now. But the third thing I would say is, am I willing to handle or deal with some of the things that you're producing now? When you are dating in a relationship, you gotta weigh it out. Certain things in a relationship you can get over. Certain things that they may be a little challenging, but they're okay. You can get over. For example, what are you willing to deal with? Are you willing to deal with someone who's cheating? Not I. I refuse to do that. Are you willing to deal with somebody who tells little white lies? You may be. Is that big for you? So you got to weigh out in the beginning, okay, can I see myself dealing with that for the long term? Don't get in a relationship saying they may change because they may not. So that's what I would say. Find out. The third thing is find out what you're willing to deal with. And if you're willing to deal with it, go ahead and go with it.
Man, I really appreciate you adding that because we've been talking a lot about what we're looking for, but what we're not looking for is just as important. So yeah, I appreciate you adding that part. Lauren, what are your three things that you advising the young brother? What does he need to be looking for?
Around who you messing with that's burning clothes, man.
I've seen it, my brother. I've seen it.
No, I would say the first thing, and I already talked about this a little bit earlier tonight. While it's while it's challenging at a younger age, you want to look at a woman's emotional intelligence. Uh, you want to look at her spirit and how she plays that balancing game. Uh, number two, and this really speaks to more of a partnership, but are either of you in a space where you are ready to commit to the other person's love language? Because we all want to be loved in different ways. Uh, you know, are you or is the woman, either one, or the female, either one, are you guys willing to speak each other's love language? Uh, and I would say number three is commitment. I think, marriage is a lifelong journey. If you think for 5 seconds that as soon as you get married, that everything's cool, life is the journey. Are you willing to be committed with somebody to somebody and be committed with someone that can't hang? Honestly, they can't hang when it gets hot in the kitchen, they out. And I think, for especially for us guys, we tend to run a lot faster than we're willing to sit still in a lot of cases. Uh, but I think it's important to understand what a relationship is about, what the journey of marriage is about, because it's if you talking about till death do us part, unless you know that you checking out early, it could be a long journey. So you have to be with somebody that's prepared to go there with you.
Hey, and I'm gonna throw this out there for the married people. Can y'all do everybody a favor and stop saying this one thing? Right. So whenever someone is considering marriage, um, I've heard it like before. It's always described as this hard, difficult, like it's so tough, it's so rough. Let people hear the good side of marriage. The companionship, the love, the knowing that someone's always going to be there. I think marriage gets put under a negative light, and so when it comes to young men and wanting to get married, um, none of it sounds good. You know what I'm saying? I'll just be honest. For most people, none of it sounds good. You know what I mean? It's always, you're gonna have to, and you're gonna have to compromise, and you ain't gonna be able to do what you. Now, I don't believe that. I truly don't believe that. I believe that comes from, like Laurent said, being unequally yoked. And like we said before, not having the proper conversations in advance so that you understand what you're getting into with that person. But should it be a constant struggle for the rest of your life? I really don't believe. I hope not. And so, Andrew, what would be your three things that a young man should look for in a potential wife?
Three things a young man should look for in a potential wife. Number one, absolutely nothing. Number two, listen to number one. And number three, if you forgot number two and number one, close your eyes. And the reason I say that is that's part of the problem. We're always looking for something, and we're never looking to give what we should be giving. Meaning, love is not about what I'm supposed. Love does not come towards us. Love goes outward. Love is what we're supposed to be giving. So when Melvin made a comment that says, he who findeth the wife, when we find her, we've already assessed her. We've already done all the looking that we want to look. We don't need to look up under the hood because we're going to find that she has the same issues as us. And when we start to break those down and look at those issues, then we start to get in the way of love. And what that stops us from doing is it stops us from being patient. It stops us from being kind. It stops us from protecting her. It stops us from trusting her. It stops us from hoping. It stops us from persevering. And it creates an opportunity for us to fail. And love is none of those things. Love doesn't do all those things. What we fail to realize is when we do all of us and not look for anything for her, we automatically unlock everything that she can become because she's already ready to follow us when we found her. And we just don't recognize that.
You don't think so? So now, guys, man, you about to start another
He's
conversation.
trying to
We're
hit us
supposed to
with
be
the
wrapping
mic.
this up.
Trying to hit us with the mic.
Right. But that word follow, that word follow, like we can't let that go. And so a lot of women today, and I'm just taking this off social media. It ain't like I'm, just talking to 50 women every day. But from what I see on social media, a lot of women have a problem with that word that you used, follow, or the word submit. Lauren, you're shaking your head no. Am I wrong? What are your thoughts?
You said I just need you to make sure your vernacular is clear. A lot of girls have an issue with that statement.
Oh,
women are good with that statement.
Exactly.
Girls have a problem.
Especially if their man is leading.
Can you expound on that?
When their man is leading, what people fail to realize is marriage, and this is just my opinion, marriage is a business. And what you're talking about as far as a man waiting until he's 30 so he can cultivate his business, once he actually approves his business and gets it started because he has a destiny, he has a purpose, he has a vision, he's now looking for a business partner or a first mate or a helpmate to make sure that that business actually thrives so that it can be passed on to his legacy. So when she sees all this in place, she's ready to work. She was born ready to work. We just don't know that because we haven't set up the structure and we haven't put the business in full effect.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up for me. I agree with you. And there's actually a comment that says from Jasmine Rackley, women don't have an issue with following, women have an issue with trusting that you can guide. And so that makes a lot of sense. And again, that's why I'm on this wait until you 30 movement. I'm gonna get y'all some t-shirts and flags or whatever so y'all can help me out. But at 18, 19, 20 years old, there wasn't anything to follow. I couldn't guide you anywhere because I didn't even have the map yet. And so I think that's
what
a big
would you
thing.
say about Fred Hampton?
Right. We got a comment here from Miss Maroney. It says, I will naturally submit to a man that has been assigned to lead me. I'm a sheep, not a goat for my husband. That's solid. And then another comment here. The more expectations we have, the more wall we keep up. If you let your wall down and give her the opportunity to show you who she is, we can be wrong sometimes about what we need. Sometimes you don't know what you need until someone gives it to you. And so from what I'm hearing from these ladies here, I'm just going to take their word for it, is they want us to stand up and be men.
Exactly.
They want us to have a structure or something that they can work with so that they can be confident that we're guiding them down the wrong path, because that only makes sense. It can't be the blind leading the blind, so to speak. It's let's see, Melvin Brown here, he said, another thing I wish folks would stop saying about marriage is it's a 50-50 thing. No, ma'am, no, sir, it's not 50-50, but 100-100. And I completely agree with that. Because if you got two half-filled cups and you pour out of either one of them, there's lack there. And so people do need to come into the relationships whole. That's one thing that we touched on at the beginning. We all know that we're dealing with trauma, male and female. We got to have the serious conversations like we're doing right now. And that's what Elevating Men is all about, creating a platform where men can be open and honest. We can learn from each other. We can share our experiences and become better men. And so I appreciate all of you guys for coming on, all of you brothers, because I know there's plenty other things that you could be doing and spending an hour and a half of your time on here talking with me. But I do appreciate it. And for everyone who's watching, thank you for your time. Really quick, I just want to go around and everybody, again, reintroduce yourself, what you have going on, how can people connect with you. And I'll start with you, Mr. Clark.
Wow, man, I got so much going on. If you get an opportunity, check out the book, How to Love a Woman. We getting ready. We got an app. So I've always done relationship, and that's just my thing. So got this life coaching thing. We got a life dating and relationship class coming up the first and second week in March, where we just talk about all different types of things. If you're in Kansas City Atlanta, New Orleans, Philly, or New York, make sure and stop by Rich Cuts. Tell them Maurice sent you. And that's it.
Awesome. So yeah, people, pick up the book. Like I said, it's on Amazon. You can get it at Walmart, Barnes and Nobles. Anybody that has books has How to Love a Woman. And so, man, pick it up. Get some game. Learn how to love your woman properly because it's important. Like we talk about here on Elevated Men all the time. It starts with the man. But a strong man can build a strong family, and strong families build strong communities. That's exactly what we want. So we appreciate your contribution, brother. We do. LaRon Barnes, LaRon the Motivator. Tell the people who you are, what you do, and how they can connect with you.
Absolutely, of course. You know, LaRon the Motivator is what I go by. You can actually, I'm a life coach, of course, motivational speaker, and I actually just recently started a group page called The Balanced Entrepreneur. It shows you how to balance your work life as well as your personal life, because personal life affects your work life. So if you have an issue with balancing your life, if you have an issue you need direction to move forward in your life, don't know where you're gonna go, don't know your purpose. Literally, I'm telling you guys, whatever issue you are dealing with, whatever one you have, whatever you want to overcome, talk to me. I have a gift. God has given me a gift. I literally can get you anywhere, get through any emotion you're dealing with, even trauma from freaking deaths in the family. Like I said, it's just really a gift God has given me. So anywhere you want to go in life, anything you want to do in life, I'm gonna talk to LaRon the Motivator. Follow me on the Balance Door, and then like my page and follow me on the Motivator.
Awesome. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. I always love having you on, man. You're a blessing, seriously. Lauren, any last words, thoughts, how they connect with you, what you got going on?
Yeah, fellas, humble to be in your presence tonight. I appreciate it, man. It's always a blast, always a pleasure. You can check me out at Lojo Speaks, LOJOSPEAKS, all one word, Lojo Speaks. Check me out on Facebook. Check me out on Instagram. We talking all things fatherhood. Just trying to promote that platform and change the paradigm that fathers are not important in the lives of the family. Check it out.
Absolutely. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, man. Fathers are a big part of the family, big part. And last but not least, certainly not least, Mr. A.L. Boykin. How can they find you? What do you got going on, sir?
While all of you great men are actually building our present and helping our present be better men tomorrow, I'm asking you all to think about tomorrow and help me build tomorrow. Rest in 2050, RESTIN 2050.org. That's restin2050.org. The restoration is a 32-year plan set out to build a tomorrow, a resource field tomorrow, so that once you all do all the beautiful things and create all the beautiful repaired minds, 2050 will be waiting for them so that they can move seamlessly into their future and prepare for 2100. We're getting ready to change the narrative. We're going to stop talking about a past that was filled with pain, because they're going to start reading books that started in 2018 when this started, that says that we got together to change this. And then they're going to be talking about reading stories that were beautiful from that point forward.
Yeah, and just to expound on that a little bit, so Rest in 2050, it's an economic plan for our communities. We've been waiting for 40 acres and a mule and reparations that may or may not ever come. And so I really commend Brother Boykin for putting together a financial plan for the community. And so definitely check him out and let's support that in any way that we can. Again, this is Elevating Men. This is the premier destination for men who want to improve their lives and become better men. It is very, very, very important that you share this. Share this with the men in your life. Share this with your nephew, your son. Sit down and watch it with them. As men, we don't have enough outlets where we can be honest and talk about the issues that concern us. And if you don't care, as a woman, if you don't care because you're like, hey, these are grown men, they need to figure out what's going on. Think about your nephews. Think about your son. Think about the other men in your family and how important it may be to them. So share, and stay plugged in. We're here every Monday at 7 p.m. without fail. And so we appreciate all of you. Watch the replay. It'll be up. Guys, again, thank all of you, and everyone who's watching, thank you too. Have a good evening.
Thank you.